Well, here's what came. It was 3 weeks. I ordered off from the Leo Vince US website. Let's see, their supplier here in the US is down in Austin, Texas. It's a AF1 Racing, I believe, is where this actually shipped out of. And I don't recall. I'll have to put the name of the there's a warehouse supplier and then a retail distributor for the US. But these are made in Italy, and this is the kit designed to fit my 2022 Yamaha Xmax-300, and I'm in the US, so it's designed to fit the US model with the DOT turn signals. Some of the mufflers vent out in such a manner that it hits right on that right rear turn signal. And this also has the port here for the O2 sensor, so there shouldn't be any issues with, the tune, the mapping on the engine. Should fit right up, but we will see. Oh, and this has the DB killer. I haven't looked into it yet here on this one, but pull this little rubber plug out, and there's supposed to be a hex screw up in there, and then this baffle pulls out the back. So if you want a little more sound, but basically the reason I'm doing this is that stock exhaust is too quiet. I don't want to disturb the neighbors. I don't want to be ratting around the neighborhood and have the cops called on me, but I would still like to hear an exhaust note. I'm hoping that it's just a nice mellow exhaust note, and to me it sounds better, and it's actually safer too. I mean, this thing stock is so quiet that pedestrians literally don't hear the thing coming. We'll move on to the next step. Okay, holding the muffler on, there are 14 millimeter hex head bolts. I just used my impact wrench to take them off. So you get the 14 millimeters. The guard here is held on by these two. I call them Allen head. And I'm not sure, this is the one that was in the kit. I still haven't unpacked all my tools we moved recently. Anyway, I think this is a 4 millimeter. Anyway, you just got those two holding the whole guard assembly on. There's the guard assembly off. There's a little snap up front here. So you have those two Allen screws, and then this snap that goes into that grommet. That's the shield. Next, that looks like a 10 millimeter. Next we'll take, first we'll take the O2 sensor out. I'll be back in a second, tell you what size that is. Kind of warm today down here at the beach. A little unusual because we're right on the Washington coast. So fortunately I've got a fan for that. It's kind of cool. Whatever frame rate I've got here makes it look like the blade is hardly turning. Anyway, let's get that muffler off. Thought I'd mention this. This is actually kind of nice. The CO2 sensor here, the lead coming off from it goes up to a plug right here. You want to lift up on that little lock tab right there, and this plug comes right out, and you can actually, they made the plug small enough that you can fit your 17mm box end over the entire CO2 sensor, because as you can imagine, these would be very tight sometimes. So just to make sure that you don't strip that out, you'll want to undo that and use the box end portion of your 17mm wrench to get the O2 sensor out. Now I've been told you don't want to touch the end of your O2 sensor. Apparently the oils off your finger can contaminate it. So that may or may not be true. I don't know how sensitive they are, but it kind of looks to me like the actual sensor on this is shielded behind a shroud. So it's probably, it looks a little different than the ones I've seen on automobiles, where you've just got kind of a nub sticking out there, the actual sensor. So I don't think it's the case, but just to err on the side of caution, probably best not to let it come in contact with much of anything. Well, a couple things I want to make a quick note of. The lower hole here has no play in it, so you want to put that one in last. The upper bracket here is elongated, so you've got room to slide back and forth here with your adjustment, and you want to make sure that your slid as far forward as you can get here, because the other thing, I made a little mistake. I just took it for granted that they were, being that they did not include the graphite gasket that the stock unit had. I spent about 45 minutes with my pneumatic die grinder cutting the old end off so that I could carefully remove the graphite ring that was inside there, only to find out that this is a direct fit. There's no room here to put any kind of a washer. This just goes metal to metal. This slips right on the header pipe. So don't worry about getting that graphite washer out of your stock one, or trying to order one, because it doesn't use it. And it's no big deal, except I was planning on listing my old stock muffler on eBay, being that it's brand new. I was going to stick it on eBay and sell it with the heat shield, but oh well. Anyway, and the other thing, obviously, you want to leave this all loose, because the way this fits, you want to make sure that you're not putting any bind on this header pipe. You want to make sure that it's where that header pipe is wanting to float, that it's sitting there, because it doesn't feel terribly strong where it mounts up in there. So just kind of keep everything loose. Hang it by this top one where you've got some play back and forth. Twist this to where you get it to where it's all wanting to line up, and then after you obviously after you get everything where it's just wanting to sit in place perfectly without putting anything into a bind, then you go ahead and tighten it down. Those are 10 millimeters, and it doesn't say. There's the manifold clamp down here. I'm guessing that's a 4 millimeter hex or Allen. So anyway, I'm gonna get the spring put on down here and get everything tightened up, and we'll see how it goes. I think it looks good on there. And the no lights lighting up on the instrument panel telling me anything wrong. So, and by the way, there is no catalytic converter in that what do you call it, the adapter on there. I took a flashlight and looked down the throat of the stock muffler, and there's definitely a catalytic converter that it runs through. It's in the it's right here in this portion, right in here. So I'm thinking that it probably is lowering the back pressure, hoping it doesn't affect the low end torque too much, because I'm a big boy. I'm about 245, 250 pounds, and I need the low end torque. Anyway, let's take that DB killer out of it. Here's what the baffle looks like. It's got a captive nut welded on the inside there. Sits in the exhaust just like that. So you come up from the bottom. There's the little stainless nut that goes in there. Definitely not going to run it without the baffle, because it sounds like a straight pipe when you take that out. With the baffle in, it sounds just fine, just exactly what I was looking for. That's the little access port on the bottom. There's a rubber plug that goes in there. You just go up from the bottom like this to that little stainless nut. Take it out. Don't worry if you drop it, because it can't go any further than right here. The back of the muffler is right here, so even if you drop it, it's just going to be right there. So don't be concerned about that. Anyway, just pull that out, and then that just comes right out, and that's it. Well, took it out for about an hour spin around town a little bit, out on the state route. Cruised at about 60 for a while, wanted to heat it up, and I couldn't be more pleased. It's with the baffle in, it sounds exactly how I wanted it to. It sounds like a motorcycle now. It sounds like a 300cc thumper instead of a sewing machine. So, honest to God, with the price, you know, being over $200 cheaper than the Aquapovic, and the ease of installation. Oh, there goes my, forgot to shut off my ignition. Anyway, like I say, it's definitely louder, but it's not, with that baffle in, it's not raspy, it's not ratty. It sounds like what a motorcycle should sound like. You can hear the exhaust. You can hear your RPMs out of the exhaust when you're cruising down the road. Again, I couldn't be more pleased. So it gets a big thumbs up from me.